We are in a society where we've been taught to perform, to do well, to score. I literally didn't know what empathy was. We are quite disconnected emotionally, but we may not realize that.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Awe Digital Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Ritter, joined as always by my co-host, Christian Dominique. Corrine Lin is joining us from Singapore. Corrine has a really interesting background in psychotherapy. Now you work hands-on with a lot of patients dealing with a lot of different issues, including emotional reactivity, which is what we're going to get into today, burnout, relationship patterns. In your experience, over the last couple of years working psychotherapy, have you seen any trends in the types of cases and what you treat in individuals?
One thing that I realized and I noticed is the emotional detachment that we come across in clients. And this is something that, only in sessions, clients start to realize that, right, that, actually I've been very high functioning, but I may not be that connected emotionally. And I didn't think that I needed to connect with myself emotionally. We are in a society where we've been taught to perform, to do well, to score. That's how we brought it into our workforce as well, right? Like how we function at work. I literally didn't know what empathy was because I was so corporate-like. And so it really helped me unlearn a lot of things. We are quite disconnected emotionally, but we may not realize that. We are so used to relying on our cognitive aspects, right? Like we are taught to be rational, practical for some reason, and then we problem solve. And we go into that mode very quickly without noticing what is going on with ourselves, not just what we feel, right? Sometimes people can be expressive, but they may not know how to express. They may be able to feel, but they may not be able to articulate. In order for us to have the awareness to be able to notice the patterns and then break the cycle is also for us to notice emotionally what's going on. Yet at the same time, those feelings may not be accessible for us, because we have been learning how to block them for a long time. I may not know I'm going through certain emotions, for example. As we slow down and freeze frame, we may realize that in that moment, my body was actually telling me something as well. I may notice I have running thoughts or flushed face, like my heart starts palpitating, but I may not connect with my body sensations as much. So that's one thing that I would go back to with my clients. I always remember the amplifier I have at home, when I was a little kid and we have the sound system. When we want to turn up the volume, 0 is silence and then 9 is amplified. How we tune into our emotion is also the same. At any point in time, my emotional dial could be like 0 to 1 or 0 to 1 to 2 or less than 3. And as we go up, then I may notice, I am at 4 or 5, then maybe 8 is when I'm reactive. Right? So sometimes we very quickly go from 0 to 8. So then how can I calm myself down, right? Like breathing exercise and whatnot. And so then we also introduce skills to our clients, in sessions when we talk about this metaphor.
Why might there be a difference in what somebody perceives their dial to be and what it actually is?
From our upbringing, how we see conflicts, for example, we are not allowed to feel any emotions, bad emotions per se, right? Like you cannot cry because just because you're sad, you cannot express anger or whatnot. Then we may learn certain skill set that to cope with this. What's important is for us to understand what my dial is, right? Maybe I go from 1 to 8 pretty quickly. Internally, what was the thought that I have? What was the feelings I was feeling? What was I noticing in my body in that moment? So that I can tune into myself. RISE stands for relational, insights, somatic, emotions. Plus could be the other aspects of life. It could be financial, it could be parenting, even spirituality as well, right? But I do see a trend in like clients who are very highly cognitive, right? Highly functional and rational, right? And they know the solution, but they can't really action on what they wanted. There's like a misalignment somewhere, right? And that's where we would tap into the emotions and the body sensations that I shared about earlier. The second layer is more about how we integrate the healing as part of like a working framework. From a therapist's point of view, the first part for me would be to help clients recognize the patterns, be it the relational or like the habits that we want to break, right? We have to know what we want to change first, just so that we can understand what brought us to our present. And sometimes in my practice, clients may not want to go back to the past. But the idea of understanding our past is so that we can integrate certain stories, because the stories that we've been telling ourselves somehow also informs us of our beliefs. If we don't update those systems, then we would feel like we are that person, right? We will have certain labels that we still carry. I no longer am in that situation now. Way back, right? I see myself as like someone who needed a lot of external validation. I would still ask for opinions. And eventually, over time, today it's making a purchase, right? Of like what color of dress I buy. Tomorrow, it could be a career decision I'm making for myself. So I think we practice in one area, it would seep into other areas of our lives as well.
For people who aren't aware of intergenerational trauma and these generational cycles, what is it, and what can be done, in your perspective to prevent it?
There are certain patterns that we see, from in this generation that is like reflected in the previous generation. We learned what we saw and observed growing up. We didn't know what we don't know. So we may not want to react that way, but we don't have anything else in our toolkit. But over time, we learn new skills, and then that's how we slowly break the cycle, break the chain.
Well, thank you for sharing your journey, your framework. Again, reach out to Corrine or to herself.
I can be reached at my website, claripsychotherapy.com. All the details are there as well. So just to keep it short.
At ANA, we have awewellness.org, where we help families, couples, parents, schools, clinics all over the world.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Bye-bye.